Don't touch that dial because it's a waste of time. They won't call you back. Hey, what's good, Joe? Soul here, and welcome back to the story mode. So, we are merely a couple of weeks away from entering a completely new era of Nintendo. And that's huge in a lot of different regards. We have a lot of good looking games on the way that are really exciting. But in particular, obviously, we're talking about Pokemon in this case. We have seen and thoroughly conversed about what the Switch 2's capabilities could mean for the future of Pokemon. Better hardware simply means that they have a lot more power to play with to develop more powerful games. Now, of course, and I have said this every time we have mentioned this to make it clear that I'm not shilling for them, but there is absolutely no excuse to not be able to develop on weaker hardware as we've seen with the Switch 1. We've seen the capabilities of the Switch 1 be able to run games like Breath of the Wild on day one and Tears of the Kingdom years later, a much more impressive feat than anything prior. If they want to make a good looking and feeling game, they need to be able to take the time to do so. But again, that's a whole world of politics that we've already talked about time and time again. Right now, we are here to be a little meaner. With the Switch 2 mere weeks away at this point, I felt like it would be appropriate to talk about this now. This is a video specifically meant for me to return to later so that we can have a conversation about whether or not they actually managed to accomplish any of this stuff. Going forward, with the money that we're probably gonna end up shelling out for these frickin' games, I feel like it's only fair to have a certain level of expectations of quality for these games. And I think we should go ahead and set those standards, so here we are. And so, I'm gonna be transparent with you guys. All of the stuff that I'm about to talk about in this video is stuff that I have talked about consistently. Also, this is a little bit of a filler video because I have a bigger video coming out either this week or possibly early next week. We'll see what happens. But I have listed out everything I think modern Pokemon has to get right going forward with the Switch 2 era. Putting the foot down, dog. We gotta make sure that they really do keep to their word about the cadence of releases of these games. So, throw away that instruction manual because you already know the drill by now. Why don't you go ahead, sit down with a nice cool glass of Dr. Pepper or root beer or something along those lines, and make sure you have a nice big dish of broccoli to dip that in while we talk about everything that modern Pokemon has to get right going forward into this new era of Pokemon. So let's not beat around the bush here. Obviously, I'm just throwing this out on the table because it's the first thing everybody thought of. But, good looking and stable, consistent frame rates and gameplay. One of my biggest concerns is simply the fact that there is a very real reality in which Pokemon Legends ZA is a little more expensive than the norm. I'm pretty sure this was in response to the backlash when it came to the Mario Kart World pricing, but Doug Bowser said this: "What you see right there is variable pricing. Well, look at each game. Really look at the development that's gone into the game, the breadth and depth of the gameplay, if you will, the durability over time, and the repeatability of gameplay experiences." So, the long and short of it is, that's corporate shrill for, we know you're gonna buy this game, so we're gonna raise the price on this one specifically because it's gonna net us more money. And you see, that's aggravatingly annoying to me, especially when it comes to Nintendo IPs, whom is notorious for never lowering their prices. Because if that is the case, if they truly are determining prices based on quality and replayability, then Pokemon Scarlet and Violet should be $6 maximum. Again, I've made it very clear that I enjoyed my time with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, but those are not high quality games. Those are unfinished products. All of this to say, it kind of annoys me because I don't think Pokemon reserves the right to quote-unquote variable price the games that they're putting out. For the entire Switch 1 generation, they have not proven that they are able to put out quality games consistently at all. So, to bring it back to the beginning of this conversation, I'm a little nervous that they're gonna look at Pokemon Legends ZA, be like, we put in a little more effort because the game actually manages to function, let's go ahead and raise the price. So now we have no choice but to what? Shell out $70 for base game and $80 for the Switch 2 edition because there's a little more effort put in than usual? What an absolutely insane mindset to have. Now, of course, those prices aren't confirmed whatsoever. We still, to this day, have no idea what the actual price is for Pokemon Legends ZA. The primary reason that I bring this up is because with Legends ZA, or at least for the Switch 2 edition, we have seen the most stable, consistent frame rate and graphics that we have seen in a Pokemon game in years. This is only in part thanks to the fact that the Switch 2 is stronger hardware. But the long and short of it is, every single Pokemon game going forward needs to have precisely this. The game needs to at least look like it somewhat feels good. Pokemon Legends ZA almost has that. I'm a little concerned about a couple of controls here and there, but for the most part, it looks bare bones okay to control. Going forward, we need to step that game up, no questions asked. And I don't care how tough it's gonna be to get to that point, these games cannot fold in on themselves every time they try to do something a little bit harder than normal. This is now Nintendo's strongest console to date. These games need to be able to prove that as one of their biggest IPs ever. Legends ZA, specifically the Switch 2 edition, needs to be the stepping stone of what we can expect going forward with any and all games that we get afterwards. And if we can improve the graphical style too, hey, I'm more than game for it. In a similar vein, there is absolutely no debate on the fact that we need to be seeing a lot more higher quality animations going forward. Whenever I'm editing and I need to go back and forth between utilizing gameplay for both Generation 8 and Generation 9, it's kind of whiplash because, yeah, we really did take a step down in terms of that, didn't we? Difference is, in Generation 8, we had to sacrifice the Pokédex and a couple of graphics for animation quality, which they didn't really hold up to at all. In Generation 9, we sacrificed a playable game for nothing at all. I know I'm being dramatic, but you get what I'm getting at. Going forward, I don't expect for us to have access to a full Pokédex like the National Dex like we did in earlier generations. We have way too many Pokemon for that to be viable anymore. I get it, that's totally fine. However, for the amount of Pokemon that we do have in these games going forward, we need to make it so that these moves feel like they are doing some true, genuine damage, and they need to look pretty doing it. I think that is more than fair. And that doesn't just apply to like Pokemon moves or anything like that either. I'm talking about these characters, I'm talking about the expressions that they have, I'm talking about genuine cutscenes where things are actually happening, things are moving, things look good while doing so. You want your cities to feel lived in? Make it so that the people in the background actually look good walking around instead of at 2 frames per second. I want to be able to walk around a corner and then suddenly get put into a cutscene where somebody is like having the battle of their life and it looks raw. I'm talking quality levels of like that one Dragon Ball Kakarot scene between Vegito and Super Boo, where they're going toe to toe. That wasn't even in the anime or the manga, by the way. CC2 just decided to go crazy on that, but that's what I'm talking about. Have fun, make more stuff like that, make memorable scenes and higher quality animations throughout, something that sticks with us. I don't think I'm mincing any words here, right? It's pretty clear what I'm asking for. I don't think I need to say much more because, again, this is stuff that I've talked about time and time and time again. I'm sure that you guys are sick of me talking about it at this point, but I don't know. Again, the more we say it out loud, the more clear it is. So let's just keep putting it out there. Moving on. Now, they've been okay in this department, at least with Generation 9 in my personal opinion, but something that we do need to see more of going forward is stronger stories. Again, I enjoyed Generation 9 if for anything its story. Its story was fun. I liked its characters, I liked the developments that all these characters had, and the plot that it led to. It was cool, it was fine. But one thing Pokemon hasn't done in the last couple of years is follow the one rule of RPGs. Step 1, start off as a local guy. Step 30, fight God. Jokes aside, I personally am someone that is very story driven. I like my games, of course, the gameplay is always very important to me, but if there's no good story to drive the gameplay, then I'm not nearly as invested. Video games have always had the interactivity as an advantage over other forms of media. If a story sucks in a book or show, well then, that story sucks forever and you're just kind of like whatever about it and it gets a lower rating. In a video game, Obviously, the most important part is the gameplay. So at least if the gameplay is good, then if the story sucks, well, at least it's half and half. You still get something out of it. If we're talking like mainline generational games, the problem with Pokemon is that they have the most standard form of RPG mechanics known to man. So, outside of like any gimmicks and things that they do need to create, we still have very standard turn-by-turn gameplay for Pokemon. Obviously, in the case of something like Legend ZA, that is very different because that's a very specific situation. But if we're talking about something like Generation 10 going forward, then yeah, I think it's fair to expect real stories, very heavy stories from these RPGs, like every other RPG usually does. You can switch it up a bit and get as creative as you want, sure, but I want true villains, I want genuine stakes, and I want choices that actually matter to my gameplay. One thing I can appreciate about Pokemon Legends Arceus is that we actually kind of had a villain, albeit he was a little pushed to the end. We had a villain in Volo. But other than him, we haven't had a real villain in frickin' ages. Rose was not a real villain, and the android that actually somewhat had a conscience actually asked you to stop them specifically. That's not a villain, bro. Like, I don't know. Am I weird? Am I weird for wanting to see something genuinely scary and threatening to the world of Pokemon? We've already talked thoroughly about this, so I'm regurgitating a little bit, but I want to see a threat. I want to see maybe my character's family get kidnapped or something. I don't know. I just want to see some stakes, man. I want to see some crazy stuff happen because I don't know. I just feel like we haven't gotten it like we used to. I get trying to make Pokemon a little more friendly towards the younger audience that you've garnered over the years, but we don't need to sacrifice the entire concept of evil for the sake of that. That's just crazy. So hopefully at some point down the line during this era of Switch 2, I would love to see some genuine villainy in the midst of Generation 10 or Generation 11, because we're probably going to reach at least 2 major generations during the Switch 2 era, guaranteed. But I need to see some genuine and serious character development on the characters that we meet throughout our journey as well, the ones that are traveling alongside us. Yeah, I want to see actual stuff happen with them. I want to see them in events that test their character every now and again. I refuse to have another Marnie situation. She was simply present. She has such an awesome design and is one of the most underutilized characters in the entire franchise. You are not debating me on this. I want to see characters with genuine struggle, genuine heartbreak, genuine development, and genuine growth. We have something like that with Arven, and we have something like that with Penny. Good, awesome, that's a great start. Nomona, on the other hand, is just simply present. She's a fun character, I like her enough, but she has no development whatsoever. She just kind of follows you around until you're strong enough to fight her. For a rival character, I think I'm gonna need something a little bit stronger than that. I want to see a character put through hell and back and still be able to stand on their own 2 feet and prove that. No more of these characters with backstories that we never get to delve into. What is the purpose of that? If you're not gonna give us stories that are longer than like 5 minutes in the form of a YouTube video, I need more going on inside the game to tell us about these characters and their histories, okay? I don't think that's an insane ask. And don't even get me started on decision making in these games. We've already talked about it in like 3 separate videos. The long and short of it is, I want decisions to actually matter. When somebody asks me something, I want it to be able to affect the story in some way, shape, or form. I want to be able to actually make a decision on how I go about my Pokemon journey so that I can actually differ my gameplay experience from somebody else other than just having a unique team of 6 that I fought through the game with. We can tweak that a little bit, I think, right? I think that's a pretty valid request. Next to that, something that I have talked about time and time and time and time and time and time again. Side quests. What is it with these games not having the simple act of being able to walk up to an NPC with a little exclamation point over their head, get a specific quest to go find a specific item or a specific Pokemon, and get that thing or Pokemon, bring it back to them, and get rewarded for it? Why do we not have such a very simple system throughout these games? Either the items are completely handed to us if we talk to the NPCs, or we get absolutely no information or rewards for going out of our way to talk to NPCs. What is that? Now, thankfully, Pokemon Legends Arceus does that. They literally give us genuine, actual side quests. Phenomenal. Great, that's all we could have hoped for. And then we took a fat step back with Gen 9. What? Okay. Obviously, they weren't developed at the same time. I completely understand that. But the fact that we couldn't get side quests in our first open world title is one of the strangest and most baffling decisions I have seen from them by and far. Now, given the scope of it, I have to imagine that Pokemon Legends ZA is probably gonna have side quests. Great, awesome, can't wait to see that. But Generation 10 and onward? Yeah, no, we have to have side quests, especially if we're gonna be playing in open world games from now on. As we've said millions of times before, side quests are what help with world building and character development that we can't get from the main story if there's simply not enough time to add that. It also gives us a great excuse to explore every nook and cranny of this world that you worked so hard to build. There are certain Pokemon and items that I would be totally okay with being locked behind specific quests and then getting them as rewards so that we have something to help us on our main journey. That's not that crazy. It's weird that the RPG of all time is lacking the RPG thing of all time. Hopefully, after the release of both Legends Arceus and Pokemon Scarlet and Violet back-to-back, they have recognized this, and proceeding forward, we do get genuine side quests, because they would just work a lot better for an open world format. It just makes a lot more sense to me. The last thing here in terms of the actual mainline games is the fact that we need more eventful stuff happening outside of just raid battles. Instead of on a month-to-month basis giving us new events for raid battles and stuff like that, why don't we have certain things and mechanics and mini games that have very specific events that make the game a little more interesting to come back to? Because raid battling, that's been tired since 8th gen when it comes to just having that for the post game. Imagine a situation in which they brought back tournaments from Generation 5, but they upped the scale to a wide margin. They have the easy mode tournaments, hard mode tournaments, yada yada yada, right? They even have the online tournament mode, okay? However, imagine if they had a specific mode in which you could battle a really hard tactical version of a cameo character. Imagine they had an event for a tournament where you could enter and you had to battle all these really hard trainers, and then we get to battle a cameo character like Blue or Cynthia, or even anime characters like Ash, Liko, or Roy to get the anime watchers into the games a little more. And that could be one way that you obtain very specific items, or possibly even that trainer's Pokemon, or a copy of that Pokemon in your box or something. You get what I'm getting at? What if we were to bring back contests and we had very specific judges within the contests, like May or something like that, for an event, so that we could get certain cosmetics for either our character or for our Pokemon only if we participate in that event? Am I crazy? Wouldn't that be kind of neat to have? And what's crazy is that's putting it small scale, because back during something like Generation 7, we had that in abundance with the battle tree. We were seeing cameo characters and getting stuff all the time. Now, none of that stuff feels like it's worth visiting in something like Generation 8, or if we even have, do we have a battle tower thing in Gen 9? I don't even remember, but the point is, it just doesn't feel worth revisiting, and I feel like we can be utilizing stuff like that more to make the game feel more eventful alongside raid battles. These things could all complement each other and make it so that we have really eventful stuff going on after post-launch. Say I'm lowballing it, call me crazy, whatever, I don't care. Point is, after the Charizard event, I basically never touched Pokemon Scarlet and Violet again after that. That was pretty much it for me. Yeah, you get the gist. Give us stuff outside of just raid battles for post-game. That's it. That's all I'm asking. I feel like that's pretty fair. And then, of course, outside of the mainline games, the actual final thing is having actual genuine spin-off games. And we've talked about this time and time and time again, how they technically don't really have a reason to make spin-off games like this in that caliber anymore, but I still want them, man, and I'm still gonna put my foot down in saying mobile games are the past. They are garbage 9 times out of 10 now, because even those take way too much time and money to develop, so you may as well be making an actual genuine spin-off game at this point. Give us our Pokken Tournament 2. Give us our Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Explorers of Sky DX remake or whatever. Give us a Pokemon Warriors game. I've been begging for that forever. I need to see it. I will talk about that to my final breath, but give us genuine spin-off games that are actually of high quality. Detective Pikachu, that's questionable, but you get what I'm getting at. I want actual genuine spin-off games. Simple as that. We can have other holdovers that aren't mainline games or remakes or Legends games or whatever else. If anybody knows the answer to this, by all means inform me. But how many people at this point could possibly still be playing Pokemon Unite, Pokemon Masters EX, Pokemon Cafe Remix, Pokemon Sleep? Who's funding these games? Go, TCG Pocket, whatever. Those make a lot of sense for the most part. I can get behind that. But those other ones, there's no way they could still be possibly making that much money. I just want Poke Park back, man. Please. I just want Poke Park back. I don't think that's that crazy of a request. But other than that, I think I have generally said my piece about all of this. Of course, this isn't something you guys haven't heard me talk about time and time again on this channel. I just wanted to make all of this very, very clear before we ramp it up into the Switch 2 era once we get our hands on Pokemon Legends CA, because after that, we are going to be in unknown territory for quite some time. So I wanted to make it perfectly clear that these are some things that I would like to see going forward with this series. Of course, this boils down to Game Freak being able to have enough time to actually develop these games and Pokemon Company giving them enough time to develop them. So we'll see what actually happens, because who knows, they could still manage to somehow fumble the bag even with all of this powerful hardware in their hands. But hey, you know what? Maybe that's just me. So that just about does it for this one. Again, like I said earlier, this is a little bit of a filler video because I have one that I want to work on, but that one's gonna take a little bit extra time probably in editing and a little more thought depending on how that goes. I'm gonna record it soon. I know that one's gonna take me a minute, but we'll talk about that soon. You'll probably see it this week, at the latest next week, so we'll see what happens. I just want to give myself a little time. So hence this. So with that all being said, I'm passing the mic over in your direction, and I want you guys to tell me everything that you guys are thinking in the comment section below. Do you think that we could possibly see all of this now that we do have more powerful hardware? We could genuinely see some genuine changes from the franchise, and that they really will stick to their guns about the release cadence, especially after that previous year of silence. Maybe they had more time to develop all these games that they may have in their backlog. Or are you on the opposing side? This game series will never change. They are just going to make money off this franchise regardless of its actual quality and release cadence, and we are doomed to see this spiral into a never-ending hell. Tell me everything that you guys are thinking in the comment section below, because you know for a fact that I'm always going to be down there with you guys. But with that, it does appear to be skedaddle o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and do just that. I'd like to thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor of dropping a like and a comment, and consider subscribing for more content just like this here. And with that, I'm gone. So thanks again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor of taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.